special guest with us. Today, we're talking with Mark Shekter, CEO and co founder of Think8 Global. Mark, hey, how are
Very
you?
well, thank you. I'm happy to be part of the of this webinar.
Think8 isn't just a regular incubator, I know. They're an international consultancy, and they help a lot of people like startups, established companies, and even massive Fortune 500 corporations. And of course, we know that they play a big role in Canada's startup visa program, helping international founders like many of you watching today start their business in Canada. So let's jump right back. Mark, thank you so much for being here. If you have any introduction, we'll more than happy to hear it.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to share my experience with the Startup Visa Program in Canada, and in general, how we see business development, how we see startups making it, what the concerns are that we face working with companies all over the world, and providing our viewpoint and tips on what we believe it takes to build a successful future in Canada or, frankly, any business anywhere in the world. So I look forward to this conversation.
Perfect, perfect. All right, let's start from the beginning. You're the founder of Think8. But what inspired you to create Think8 at the first place? What was your vision back then, and has it changed over the years?
Well, I'm the co-founder. I co-founded it with my wife, Nancy Treitz-Botkin. The impetus for creating it, the reason that we got it going, was my early experience in Hollywood, writing television, film, music for major
That's awesome.
studios. And it's a very creative process. So I was very curious as to what makes a successful TV show or film. It turned out that what I discovered applies to creating a business as well. And so I was looking for the ingredients that any successful business, organization, or project would need to concentrate on in order to ensure it had a greater margin of success. And I isolated 8 points, 8 areas that needed address. Those companies or projects that were successful had actually dealt with those 8 points. Those companies that were less successful had actually not listened to or paid any attention at all to those 8 points. And that became Think8 because the program itself that we developed is a way to look at business through a different lens. You're thinking about it differently. The 8 points are key to what we found successful corporations, and we apply that to our clients all over the world, not least of which is the startup visa applicants. So Think8 is thinking differently in 8 stages of address, and it's taken us around the world, and we've enjoyed a great experience with it. Not only do we deliver the consulting globally to companies of all sizes, right up to Fortune 500 companies, as you mentioned, but we also do a lot of executive training. People want to learn how to think the way we think about business, so we deliver that. And we actually teach master's programs in business in universities. So it's really enjoyed quite a life so far because people find it a way to think differently about how they're building opportunity. And that's the origins of it, in short.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I know Think8 does way more than just startup
Go
visa
ahead.
work. You've got this whole global consulting side. Can you give us a quick overview of all the ways you work with businesses, whether they're new startups or even new corporations?
Well, it's a good question, and it's a fair question. The tools that we developed, the Think8 tools, and there's quite a few, deal with all areas of business. It deals with creating a very powerful vision of a company based on a very strong purpose for its founders. It deals with how to restructure or structure a new business idea. It deals with how to develop a really competitive product. It addresses how to market that product. It also really gauges the impact that you want from your product or service. So these key things, and I've only mentioned a few, go deeper into the transparency and authenticity of a company and how to build trust and expectations of clients to know that they're getting the real value of what you're offering time after time. So these 8 points, and I haven't listed all the 8, but I'm giving you an overview, apply to any company or any project anywhere in the world. It's a universal tool that has founders, entrepreneurs, examine all the work that they've done to date, whether they're a startup or a mature company, and start to one by one address each of these 8 stages. And these 8 stages end up with what we call a dynamic blueprint, an architecture of how to build or scale a business. And these 8 points, that dynamic blueprint, is the first of 7 other stages called whole business design, where we go into a deep dive, a really thorough, detailed examination of what it's going to take to make them competitive. I think what we have learned over the years working with companies literally all over the world in multiple countries, we not only do it online, we go to companies in the Middle East, in South Africa, in Europe, in the UK, of course, US and North America, Mexico, South America. And what we've learned is that, generally speaking, there are a lot of ways of doing things, a lot of books you can read, a lot of courses you can take. But what is important for us is to really examine at its core the motivation of the founders towards building a business. And what I mean by that is not just to fill a market gap, an opportunity, but to really believe in what you're building and know its value. And when you have that as a starting point, which is only step 1 of 8 steps, this is a game changer because people don't tend to think about their business that way. They're looking for the opportunity, the way we can fill a need. You're taught this in business schools and incubators around the world. And while it has a usefulness to validate an idea, if the founders don't have the passion, really the purpose of building something worthwhile that they believe in, it doesn't tend to work as well. In fact, if you look at the successes, the real successes of the companies, not only that we work with, but if you just go and do a list of successful organizations around the world and you do homework or read autobiographies of the founders or biographies, you will find that these people were really driven to build something really unique. And that's the starting point. And that's a major difference because we don't start with the what or the why or the how. We start with the who. Who are these people? Who are you as founders? And what is it that you want to bring to your constituents, to your clients, to your nation, to the world? And it's a very, very fundamental starting point for any business.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Mark, I know a lot of people watching today are super curious about how Think8 works with international startups. And sorry, especially through Canada's Startup Visa program, the
Yes.
SUV program. Can you walk us through how Think8 support these teams and from the moment they connect with you to the business development process and how you help them prepare for success in
Sure.
Canada?
The Canadian Startup Visa program was started around 2014. So it's about 10 or 11 years old. It's quite new and it's being adopted by countries around the world, Portugal, Greece, the UK, and others, because it's a different way of immigration that provides not only a benefit to the people coming to the country, but it has them develop a business, a startup that's going to be valuable to them and valuable to the economy that they're serving. So the Canadian Startup Program invites entrepreneurs from all over the world to submit their ideas to what we call a designated organization. A designated organization is a licensed company like ours, and there's only maybe 50, 60 of them in the country, possibly 70 different kinds, that are licensed and privileged to assess an idea. The idea can come from anywhere. The founders of that idea can come from any country in the world. And the intention of that group is that they want to build an opportunity, a startup in Canada. And the government only has three principal criteria, aside from immigration, because a designated organization like ourselves focuses on business, building that opportunity. Immigration is handled by immigration lawyers and consultants, and we have those in our organization. But our focus as the Think8 Global Institute, the SUV dedicated organization, is to take that idea, assess it under three categories. One, is it innovative or disruptive? Is it new? Is it fresh? Do we feel it's competitive? Secondly, do we believe that that idea is going to generate employment opportunities for Canadians? Really important. That it is really an economic solution of growth for Canada. And the third is the idea worthy of a global distribution? Can it scale? If you look at any startup anywhere in the world, really those three criterion are pretty basic because you want to make sure that not only will they service locally, but in order to increase sales potential, they have to go globally. So we get these ideas submitted from all over the world, countries. I mean, there's not a country we haven't almost worked with in terms of if it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Iran, Turkey, Hungary, the UK, Germany, it doesn't matter. A good idea is a good idea. And if the founders are really dedicated to building it, very important, we're looking for the good idea backed by a really qualified team. And when I mean qualified, people that we believe have the experience and the know-how to build that opportunity for real. If those criteria are met, aside from the immigration background checks and all that usual stuff that you would have for any country on any program, any immigration program, we as an incubator assess the idea. We look at their business plan. We can make maybe suggestions to that business plan that fit the criteria. They go back to the drawing board. They work on it some more. We want, at the end of the day, a solid business plan. A pitch deck would be great. We meet them early and we look at them, talk to them, get them to ask us questions to get a feel if they are really intent, not just to try to get a permanent residency, which is one of the rewards of doing it right, and onto citizenship, but are they really intent on building a solid business? And if we believe that the idea is solid and that they really are qualified and have the true purpose to build a business, not just to get a quick exit or entry rather into Canada through a program, we're all open. We take them on and we begin a process of incubation. There are steps along the way in terms of contracts and service agreements and things like that that we require in order to officialize the arrangement. And we send that information to the government to say we officially recognize this group as a startup. We welcome them into the Canadian Startup Visa Program, and we begin our incubation program, which I can detail after this particular conversation here. But that's really the simplicity. If the idea is solid, if the people are qualified and sincere. When I say sincere, the intent of the program is very clear and has to be honored. It isn't a quick fix to come into a country through permanent residency. The uniqueness of the startup visa is that it provides an asset at the end of that work. There's a real company with real opportunity, real growth potential, with people committed and dedicated to building it. And if they do those things and honor that, and with our help, they can basically work through a development process and launch their startup in this country. And the results are quite wonderful. Not only do they get the asset of a business and the livelihood for their family and their colleagues and their partners, but they've generated employment opportunities and they earn, when their file is reviewed, every good opportunity to be qualified for permanent residency. So it's a very, very brilliant program. And that's why it's being endorsed around the world as the new solution, the best solution to immigration through building an opportunity, a real business in the country.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, my next question is: if someone thinking, I want to work with Think8, what do you actually look for in the startups you choose? Is there a secret formula, or is every team different?
Well, there's other designated organizations, and we always encourage people to check it out, find out what they're offering, most importantly, what their program is. People ask about fees and so on. Of course, there's a cost, but it varies with the particular program people do. And we say, don't just jump into the lowest price, get real value. You are going to be with an organization for a while. In our case, the reason that people find us as a very unique offering is that we have a 6-month incubation program once we accept them. They get the letter of support. You may have heard that term before. The letter of support is the official welcome to the Startup Visa program. They get the letter of support, at which point we then schedule them for our 6-month incubation program. And then we have an 18-month to 24-month business accelerator program, which takes them almost up to the time of their review of their permanent residency file. It actually, we generally stay with them all the way up to that point. Their file is reviewed, and if successful, and when I say successful, the government looks at, have they done a real program? Have they, been dedicated to it? Have they honored it? Have they made progress? All of those things you would expect. Ultimately, they should qualify for residency, assuming all the immigration and things like that are handled, but that's handled along the way. And they come to us because our program is the only one that does that type of particular unique development process. We like to think it's very special, of course. I mean, obviously, other incubators at times have been formed just to service the SUV, the Startup Visa program. We, as you know, and as we're discussing, come from an international consultancy background. So we're not mentoring or advising companies that are working with us. We are consulting to them. We are training them. We are delivering to them what we deliver to the Fortune 500 companies. So they're getting really a very unique experience. It's a lot of fun, I have to add. They get to know us. They get to ask questions. We're very transparent about it. But we advise them to do their homework. And the last thing I will say is we also, when we select a company, are there to invest as a modest investor, but we show our dedication through real capital. So they're getting the benefit of a business incubation plus investment because we're with them for maybe 3 years. And then as an equity partner, a minor equity partner, we then can be with them for another 4 years if they wish. So they're getting us for 7 years if they think it through, potentially. The reason we do that is that we are no less committed than they should be to build the opportunity. And if we're invested, not only through our work, but of our capital, then it's a partnership. It's not just an employment or not an applicant paying fees to get incubated. We're a partner. We're in there with them. So I think that is a very unique aspect of why people come to us.
Perfect, perfect. So let's talk more about the journey. I want to understand what should startups expect when applying through Think8, from that very first moment of contract with your team, all the way to getting the supports that they needed through the SUV program. What does that whole process looks like, and how much support do you give the startups?
Well, I think the support is the key word. In fact, when we send the information to the government that we accept it, not only is there the letters of support, there's the word support, but we also
Right.
have what's called a commitment certificate, very detailed, filling out all the sections to indicate why we've accepted the company, how much that company is putting in terms of their own investment capital, their background, what moves them, and so forth. The commitment certificate is well titled because it's the commitment. So they have the commitment in writing officially, and they have the support in writing. So just from a point of support, and it's a really important point, we're with them for those years. Now, what they expect is they would get in touch with us through our website, and you can give them the information, but it's think8globalinstitute.com. And in that website, there is a tab that says Startup Visa, and they click on it, and it has information. It has also a questionnaire that we ask them to fill out, but they're also entitled to write us directly And they can reach us through, and we can send that information to you later to ask about it. But we're giving you the information now. If we feel there is something there, an idea that we like, and when we say an idea, they send us the outline of the idea, they send us the business plan. It doesn't matter what they send us, other than it's a contact first up. And then if we like what we're hearing and we feel there's a shape to the idea, we set up immediately a conference call so we can talk to them. We want them to feel comfortable with us. We want them to ask questions. We need to ask questions of them till we know, is there a fit? Is the idea solid? They may have a business plan. They may have the idea for a business plan. We encourage them to go forward. But in order to do that, we ask them to fill out our questionnaire, which will help them understand what is needed for a business plan that we will accept. And frankly, what the government will accept, because we are a licensed program. I think that's important to understand for people watching. Our program that we deliver is an approved, official, vetted program. It isn't just a consultancy saying we'll help you or support you. The designated organization gets that designation, that license, that certification based on an approved program. So we are unique in the designated organizations. Those organizations have an approved program. Important to keep in mind, because that is the step by step by step sequence of how they're going to be treated and supported. And everything is transparent. They get a copy of the program. They know the dedicated time they need. For example, they have assignments that they do as a group. We review those assignments and give back with pointers each step of the way. Each step on the program has assignments. It takes maybe in their time together, we have online conversations and conference calls, maybe a couple hours a month. So it's not labor intensive, but the assignments are required to be done. And that is on their time. There are videos. There's multiple videos to watch, over 30, but they're short and they're timed to specific sections, maybe 3 or 4 minutes each, easy to follow. There's transcripts, written materials. So the experience is very structured. They know where they're going. They know where they are in the sequence. They know what is needed of them. And that whole experience is easy. It's online. We have a very sophisticated digital platform that all the stuff is there. They can see their progress. They sign off when they've done a video review, their assignments. We have a team. They're working with not just myself and our co-founders, but they have a team that is skilled in AI and IT, in marketing, in investment consulting, in validation for the product, etc. There's a whole team behind Think8 that is there to service them. Along with, if they come through a consultant, then the consultancy and us work together to ensure that we're following them step by step. And finally, everything is documented. Everything is there as evidence of their support in the program, of our support for them. So when their file is eventually reviewed by the government can see that they've really done the work, that they've moved along, that they can at any time ask us, and they do, how are they doing? And we can answer immediately because we have the documentation. It's very important for people watching that they are well represented, not only by a designated organization, by lawyers or consultants, should they choose. They can come directly to us without consultants if they want, or with lawyers, they can contact us directly, or if they're comfortable through a consultancy, they're certainly welcome to do that. But they are assured that everything is there as evidence of their work, because it will be required when their file is reviewed. So in short, the experience of 6 months of incubation, they're working together as a team. They file assignments. We get back to them right away with comments, and we work through step by step. There's 8 stages. There's 8 assignments. Very simple. But the experience, I think, is very unique because at the very beginning, we're training them on the Think8 system, and then we're having them apply it to their business. So they love that combination of learning a new way to think about their business and then applying those tools to building the opportunity for themselves. And it works really well. As I said, everything is open. If they have questions, they write us, we get back to them, we set up conference calls. So we're always in touch. We don't let anybody dangle. We're there following them. And as I mentioned earlier, we are an invested partner. So we are dedicated to their success because their success is our success.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And now I know a lot of teams are still waiting for their permanent residency, but that doesn't mean that they aren't building real businesses in Canada. Can you share some stories about teams that have made it and started working on their products? Maybe even raised some investments. What's the journey been like to them?
Well, when they do the program, and this is the entrance point, the startup visa, you have to be accepted. Those who want to do it, they get their letter of support, which is important. It gets filed with their immigration lawyer. And within that incubation period, with that letter of support, it's a 6 month certified letter that during that time, it is vital, and the government demands that any application for permanent residency is done within that 6 month period. That letter of support is not renewable. So they really, are encouraged and told to their lawyers and legal consultants that they have to file for permanent residency. But they will have evidence of having started the program. The letter of support is their way in, and their thing gets filed. Thereafter, in terms of their working with us and so on, as I mentioned, every step of the way is followed. Those, because there have been a backlog, and there was quite a backlog of almost 3 years. It didn't start with a backlog years ago. It was only 12 months, 18 months. Now, due to the demand, it's a backlog of 3 years plus. The government is working very hard, by the way, to shorten that backlog. So while they're waiting, we have several of our companies in that queue. There are thousands in that queue. The good news to keep in mind for people interested who are listening now and want to participate or would like to find out about the Canadian Startup Program is with our investment, they get priority processing, meaning they go in a quicker stream for PR review. So that's just one of the benefits of investment. Of course, they have to invest and follow the rules of the program, but there's quite a queue of people in that, and one by one we get called, and if a file needs to be reviewed, but we have several in that queue, and hopefully with the speeding up and more personnel that the government is putting onto this, we're hoping to hear soon that they start getting processed through. So we've started years ago on some of them, and they're in that queue, but not to be discouraged because that time with the queue is reducing, and those that we invest in have priority processing. So we're hopeful that that's going to be even a shorter period of time, during which they're building their business. As far as after the PR, the way our program is designed now, we're with them with investment, continuing to develop that opportunity. The government recognizes, and this is important, that a startup takes time to get into revenue. They're delighted if it is in revenue by the time their PR is reviewed, their permanent resident file is reviewed, but it's not the legal requirement. They would love to see it. It certainly helps on the application, but legally, they just have to show real intent. They've developed an office, they're networking, they're building the opportunity, they're hiring or contracting Canadians. There are certain things that we advise, and we have a list of things that we tell them that they should keep in mind to honor the intent of the program. If people realize that the program in its basis is to create opportunity for Canada, and by doing so, create opportunity for those applicants, and just do the right thing with a good idea and solid qualifications, and obviously working with a good incubator, a trusted and experienced one, then their chances of success as a company and as a PR are heightened, of course.
All right, perfect. I'm sure we had more than one question from the viewers. Farjad, if you're
Yeah,
okay, we'll
yeah,
pop up
yes,
some
yes, absolutely. There's a few questions from
from
a
the
Sure.
visitor
viewer.
from all of channel. I pin first one from Mehdi Meshkani. Okay, can incubators push IRCC on their team files or not?
Really good question.
Yeah,
I
I
wish,
know.
I wish we could. The way we push is we have everything in order. We have the documentation, we have the proof, we have the history, we video some of our conference calls. It's all evidence that they're really doing the work. We have the statistics that they're developing. We have the relationships, the networking, and not least of which, the best way we push, if you like, is that we are invested. So when the file is reviewed, they see the business incubation, they see the investment. So they're figuring if we believe in it, others might and would. And of course, that opens the opportunity for investment from other parties, third parties. So in that process of incubation and business acceleration, we have these two copyrighted programs. They're very unique and trademarked. So they're very, very special. We use them for the Fortune 500 companies, so they're getting that benefit. But beyond that, all I can say is, and it's a worthwhile, we were recently, just a couple of weeks ago, invited by the IRCC to come to Ottawa, the nation's capital, to share our experience and advice on how the program could be even better. A few selected incubators were invited. We were the one of those, and we were very fortunate to be able to face talk about our program, how we see it running, and so on, and hear about the enthusiasm of that program. We were encouraged to feel that that program is solid, meaning it's a substantial program. The government currently are really trying to look at how to make it even more efficient, less time. Looking at the requirements, as many may be aware, the government this last year said, we have to limit how many applicant files per incubator we can take on. And right now it's only 10 a year. Last year and this year, we filled our quota, and we have another few spots again available this year to fill that. But we were privileged to be able to say, here's how we're running it. Here's what we feel is working. Here's what we feel honors the program, the way we do it. And it was an opportunity to look at close range, how it should be running, and share that. So as far as pushing, what we're doing is doing a program that honors the intent of the SUV initiative. And more than that, we cannot do. And we believe that our program, and what I'm discussing with you now, honors it to the maximum. And if we do that, and we deal with people qualified with an intent to build an opportunity for themselves, they're in good shape. They should be, all things being equal, accepted in residency. But the focus, and I come back to this again and again when we talk to people, we're in the business of building the business. Our responsibility is to ensure that there is a real startup launched. And when we dedicate ourselves to that, we stand in good speed with everything else. And that helps push the product to the best of our abilities.
Perfect, perfect. So I think we can have three more questions. We have time. Next question, Farjad, if it is possible for you
Yeah,
to pop it up.
yeah. But before I show the next question, uh, I can write your email in there if it's possible. Share it,
Sure.
share it, visitor and other people. Okay, next question. Daniel ask, how much does it cost to work with Think8 for the startup visa process?
I think that's a fair question to ask. Because every company is unique, there are different pricings because depending on how far they've done in their development. And also, some may just want a part of our program, all of it. We always recommend the full. So in answer to that, if somebody wishes to know specific, I think it's important for them to see the program and the value of the program, and then determine by comparison if this program is worth it. I will say that if they wanted to immigrate to any other country in the world, they'd be paying many times more than what our fees are. So it's very fair, but I think it's best discussed one-to-one with us to say, here's what we have, here's what our resources are, here's what we're ready to invest, and then we can take them through our tiered scaling of our fees based on their situation. So one size does not fit all. But I always recommend that they talk to us. They're welcome to compare to others. They come back. But I think this is an important point to stress because it comes up a lot. the fee is irrelevant. What is relevant is the value they're getting. And what has come up in recent surveys and review by the government so far is that the value and the quality of the program is everything. It isn't a fast track to come into Canada and paying a few bucks and you arrive and you're good. What may have happened in some cases was that the program itself had, certain abuses, as programs can. The majority, of course, were fine. However, if somebody says to us, how much, before they say, what do we get? We have to be honest and say, you're not our client, because you're asking the wrong question. You want to be supported and guided with expertise. Because if you're not guided with expertise, your chances are dimmed. If you're not getting investment, you're going on a slower track. So look at the value that various incubators can provide you. You can talk to us immediately. And I believe you will get our contact information following this. I can hope you can put it up there if you like. And our
Right.
website, you're more than welcome to check us out. Contact us directly. We welcome it. In fact, many companies around the world and founders are always surprised that they can talk to us, because in some of their experiences, the incubators haven't gotten back to them, or the conversation doesn't reveal much information. We're very free with our information. We want to form a relationship with the people we work with. It's really important. Through the consultants or the lawyers and us, we're working together here because our interest is your interest. And as
Yes.
I said, we have an international consultancy. We work globally already. Culturally, we're very adept because we work already with countries all over the world. So we understand cultural differences, needs, economies. How does it work in other countries? How does it work in Canada? How does it work in the US? Because of course we have offices in the US. We just opened an office in Europe. So we're in the Middle East. We have relationships around the world. And so this helps us understand the needs. And I think it's important. We take it very seriously that a founder or entrepreneurs are considering coming to Canada to bring their family to start a new life. I don't think we can't forget that. There's a business, and we talk business, and we talk value, and we talk evidence of commitment. But at the end of the day, the choices that entrepreneurs are making and founders when they come to us is a huge one. And I think the best way we can describe our service, and you've asked this question, so let me answer it by saying we keep things simple. If it's done right, it's easy. Responses are quick. People know exactly where they stand. They qualify, they don't. What would they need to qualify? How can they invest? How does that work? Can we recommend lawyers? And yes, we can do an end to end where somebody gets in touch with us and we can lay it all out from the time they start to the time they get their permanent residency and beyond. We can resettle them in the country. We have everything there should they wish it. But if they want less, or they have lawyers handling this and they don't need that, or they have somebody who's developed their MVP and they don't need our IT group to help on that development, fine. And that's where the fees get adjusted. That's why, in answering the question of fees, it depending on what their needs are, and we can
Exactly.
advise them. So I welcome them to get in touch with us directly through your contact information there and ask straight up, how's it going? What's the program? What do you need? It's a great program. I think it's unmatched in anywhere in the world. I think people who are taking advantage of it are very fortunate, but they have to be sincere about building a business.
Perfect. I see a lot of questions raised
Yes.
by viewers, but I'm sure we have one more question, not
Oops.
more.
That's very
Yeah, Farjad, if you
eh,
can
that's
pop
very
up
tough
one.
question. How can I choose? Okay. Um, Shiva Nuri 13. What happened if IRCC rejected our team in the middle of our way?
Well, it doesn't happen like that. Um, let us say you're on your way through the program. There's nothing to reject until IRCC, they don't enter the conversation until the file is reviewed. Meanwhile, we're doing our work and so on. The file is is filed by your lawyers, immigration consultants, with our help to make sure it's done right, of course. And then it goes into that queue and we update the file. We don't really get inspected until that file comes up for review when their turn in the queue happens. At that point, they review the material and they might say, I think we need a little bit more of this. Can you clarify that? Did they set up an office in the country, et cetera? Have they made the investment? And so on. Standard questions, or they may have no questions and this go approved. But we always are ready for any questions. Along the way, the only thing that might happen is that one of the applicants falls ill or something of life happens, in which case, in the file, through lawyers and so on, we explain that there is a circumstance and we don't want to, invalidate the entire file. It has to be an extreme circumstance, but that's where your lawyers and consultants can come in, and we're there to help you too. Very rare. It hasn't happened to us yet at all. But I think keep in mind that IRC doesn't get involved. They don't really review that file until it comes up for review. Meanwhile, we're working to provide all the evidence and documentation and update it. So by the time it's reviewed, we have all the information. And if they ask questions directly to us, we can answer. And if they ask questions to you, but normally it goes through us, but if they ask for you, you can answer because everything is there. It's all very visible. And so I wouldn't worry about that. It hasn't risen with us. If there is an issue of any kind that you feel uncomfortable, you talk to us and we handle it in advance by updating a file appropriately. There are measures that you can do. It's not severe that way. They want you, the government wants you to be successful. I think that's important. And we do. So we work together. And if we have a question and we're not certain, we write to the immigration office. We talk to them. We go visit them. They talk to us. And we're doing this already if there's any question at all. Again, that's part of the support. And when I talk about getting value for, the work that we do or any incubator, you want to ensure that that incubator really has a program and that they will follow you closely and they will keep in touch and they will be responsive so that anything comes up unexpectedly, you are handled. As they say, we have your back, and we do, as your consultant should. So
That
I wouldn't worry about, could you be kicked out in the middle? That doesn't happen.
yeah, that's exactly what founders need to hear. Mark, this has been such a great conversation. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone watching has too. Before we say goodbye, I'd love to give you the floor. Any final advice, words of wisdom, or message you'd like to share with all the founders, entrepreneurs, and dreamers turning in today?
Well, first, thank you for the opportunity. I love talking about it because I'm very dedicated to this program. I think of the immigration programs in the world. It's amazing. It's fair. You just have to, as I said, be willing to build something. And most people we work with, when they come to them to see if they're accepted, that process is not painful at all. It's very, very affirming. And if they really are dedicated to building a new opportunity and they have the background, they're a go. And we evaluate everything, and we have a team that can do it very quickly. I think one thing I should add is the time we receive it to the time they start. Let's say the business plan is there. The timing, if there's any length of time, it's really developing their business plan to a point where they're comfortable. It's really getting to know us and so on. But once we have the business plan and once we accept them, from the time the letter of support is issued, it's a matter of weeks, not years or months. 6, 8 weeks at the max from the time a good idea comes to us. We can really expedite it. So they're not waiting 6 months or a year to get an answer. They'll know if there's something solid within 72 hours. That's how quick it is for us. Because it's fair to them to know that we're responsive. It's a go, or if it's not a go for us in terms of being accepted, we will tell them other alternatives, other programs, or what they would need in order to qualify. We don't leave anybody just with a no, ever. But they should know that it's not a long period of time. We discuss pricing, we discuss investment, we discuss all of that. So I would encourage anybody listening, If they are hearing what I'm saying and understand that the criteria of an innovative idea, job opportunity, scalable, some investment capital, and a willingness in their hearts to build future for real, then get in touch with us and we will continue this conversation. So I encourage you to do so and not to feel shy about it. Um, we're in the same game with you. We believe, and my final comment is the world needs entrepreneurs more than ever. We're in a very odd time right now. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody
Yeah,
globally.
that's
And
perfect.
we're very real as a company because we just came back from Europe 2 days ago. I'm going to Kuwait in a couple of weeks again. We're there. We're real about what's going on. And the only way we know that a company with a dream, a person with a dream or a hope can really survive and thrive is having the willingness to build something special, something fulfilling, not just, oh, I can do a better toothbrush. I'm talking about something that you really care about. And that is the best guarantee of, quote, security. We've launched hundreds of startups outside of the SUV and, of course, many within the SUV. We have worked with the largest companies and the smallest and middle size. And what we've learned is a good idea, well developed, well communicated, has a great shot. So I've just come back from Europe and international conversations, and what the European Commission even has just appointed, for example, a commissioner for startups. That's how serious everybody is about the future of a global economy. So don't be discouraged. Don't feel it's hopeless. This is a program that plays right into that. It's one of many, but a startup in any country, whether it's a startup visa or not, a startup is the best solution. You can work with a company that is dynamic. So by all means, if you want to join a company that has that drive and whatever, terrific. But for those who have a dream, go for it. Think8 was based on the dream. We did
thank,
exactly what
thank
I'm
you
telling you
so
about.
much. Yeah, thank you so much, Mark, and a huge thank to everyone who joined us today. We're sorry we couldn't get to all of their questions. I'm sure that you will share this with your fellow entrepreneurs, and you will all enjoy it. Take care, everyone,
Yeah,
and thanks again.
thank you for giving us your valuable time. I'm sure that a startup team should message you if they are looking for success and growth. I shared your email with the visitors. Thanks for your time, Mark.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great day.